Well, why? My name is Ellen. Today in our roll and stretch practice, the only prop we'll use is a lacrosse ball. So if you have a lacrosse ball, grab one of those. You could use something other than a lacrosse ball as well. If you don't have a lacrosse ball, that's the most ideal for what we'll be using it for today. You could also use a racquetball. They're hollow though. I like the texture, the nice rubber texture on a lacrosse ball, which a racquetball also has. So you could use that. It's a little better than a tennis ball. A tennis ball, how we're going to use this today, is a little bit slippery. But if you have just a tennis ball or just a racquetball, grab that as well. Good investment to get a couple different thicknesses or a couple different solidnesses of lacrosse ball. You can get, this is just a regular standard lacrosse ball that is solid and heavy. And I have another set of lacrosse balls that are intended for children's use, so they're softer, kind of a beginner's, younger person's softer. So that's also nice to have. So you can change up, try out something for tight muscles. Sometimes a nice, firm, solid ball is good. Other times you just kind of wish you could take the edge off a little bit, and it's nice to have a variety. You can get massage balls too with the little bumps on it, the little prickles. Those are great as well. So, grab a ball, small ball if you can. Let's just say the reason you might just have a small ball lying around, you don't have a foam roller, maybe you're traveling. So you can just fit a small ball in your suitcase or your backpack pretty easily. So particularly if you're into hiking, biking, outdoorsy, camping kind of things, doesn't take up a lot of room, and we can do a lot with this. So let's start by rolling the bottom of our foot. So I like to just start on the bottom of the foot and massage up and down the length of the foot bones. I usually start in the arch and lean into the little arch of the foot. You can press more, you can press less. It just kind of takes the intensity off a little bit, kind of backs off the intensity if you don't lean in quite as much. So how tight are your foot muscles? You can decide that way. So up and down along between the bones as well. So we're not really intending to roll the bones. We're working on tissues and muscles and fascia and stuff like that. So it doesn't really do that much good to roll the bones. Of course, you can't avoid it in your foot because you have a lot of bones. 25% of the bones in your body are in your feet. So this is a really great way to just start getting a little bit of that articulation back in our feet, the movement, the mobility. We tend to wear shoes a lot, and if you're not using all the joints in your feet and all the different directions that they can move, you're going to notice your feet become less mobile, and it's really good to have mobile feet. So highly recommend shoes. Shoes are good, but also highly recommend taking your shoes off now and then. Particularly, if you have an opportunity to walk barefoot in the sand, wow, it feels so good. Give that a try. You could try other textures too. Grass is nice. Maybe some soft dirt, things like that. So give it a try. That little like turf. Turf's kind of interesting on the feet too. So you could just kind of explore all the different things. Don't walk on hot blacktop with bare feet. So rolling up and down, there's a little arch, the arch of your foot, the side arch, but also you could lean into it just toward the back of, in front of your heel. It's still the arch of the foot. That might feel good in your body. You can give it a try. Loosening up the fascia is the main goal here, and this is a great go-to if your feet just get tired. Maybe you point your toes a lot. I know when I teach Pilates or when I practice Pilates, I'm pointing my toes a lot, and my feet get the muscles in my feet cramp up. So I like to also roll the ball under the toes side to side and just see if I can grab the ball or wrap my toes around the ball. Depends on how long your toes are, but it's good for mobility. So don't worry if you can't actually pick the ball up. It's just interesting to try using your toes like fingers and then see how that, you might need to roll then afterwards. So good to start at the bottom of the feet. And then let's take this little ball. Then all you need is a wall. So if you put the ball, we can start on the upper body. So I'll put the ball on my upper back and lean against the wall. And the further away from the wall you stand, the more you're leaning into it. You can even use some muscle and push into it if you want a little more intensity. but just roll around the upper back and loosen up any tension muscles that you find in your upper back. You can roll up into the neck even a little bit here. Interesting as well, if you have really tight neck muscles, tuck your chin. You can do it while you're rolling with the ball. You can get a good stretch too. So tuck your chin, tip the head a little bit so like you're tracing the collarbone with your chin. Get a little rotation in the neck. See if you find a good stretch that way as well. You could take right ear to right shoulder and tuck the chin toward the collarbone. So stretching away from, and then on the left side of your neck, you might find a point where you feel a stretch and you can massage into it at the same time. So think about that. You can roll up into the kind of the base of the head, right where the head, you can feel the bottom of the skull and that little dip there. That's a pressure point, actually, that we talk about in Ayurveda, doing marma massage. So there's a good pressure point that you could just kind of lean into as well. You can do that as long as feels good. I'm going to say maybe 2 minutes per part of the body unless it feels extra tight and you want to get a little deeper in. So I'm going to move that ball down now and start working around near the shoulder blades. So rolling around the shoulder blade area and see if you can maneuver the ball between the shoulder blade and the spinal column. I like to go up and down a little bit between the scapula, the shoulder blade, and the spinal column. Try not to roll right over the bones. Take your weight off of the ball if you're going to switch sides. And then once you can get that ball down by the shoulder blades, so the first layer muscle, the outer layer, we are massaging the trapezius muscle, the traps. Once you get down a little lower around the shoulder blades, I like to hug arms across chest and just open the bone structure across the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades pull a little wider open on the back ribs, and then you can get in a little deeper at the next layer of muscle down, the rhomboids. And those rhomboids can get really tight. So you might notice if you find a spot that you can just lean into it. Take a little pause. Any area where you discover that pressure point, give it 20 seconds or more. You can even give it longer than 20. So just think of it as exploring around with the ball until you find a tight spot. Once you find it, lean into it a little bit more and give it 20 seconds. You could push harder, you could back off a little bit if it's really intense. And you could use a softer ball if it's a little bit intense as well. So lots of ways to loosen up those muscles. This is probably the most effective way to loosen up tension muscles across the shoulders, though, is to use this little small ball. So great tool to have in your gym bag or in your backpack, right? All right, so moving on. You can roll the front of the chest, the pectoralis muscle. So if you've been doing push-ups or weightlifting, these muscles will probably be tight. We're coming up on a season where maybe we're going to start raking leaves or shoveling. So we're going to start finding a lot more use for these little techniques we learn in stretch and roll. So I'm just rolling the ball over the pectoralis muscle. And if I find a tight spot, I might focus on that a little bit. You could just press into it or roll around, massage around. I like to extend the arm out, rotate internally, so thumb points downward, and then put the ball against the wall and lean into it. You could do this on the floor as well, but that's a lot of body weight coming down right on top of it, so it's really intense. Depends on how tight that muscle is. So you can move the arm bone around too. You'll notice if you do move your arm up and down or rotate the arm bone, that it'll stretch the muscles a little differently, and maybe it'll feel better. You can experiment with tensing the muscle, tightening it up, flexing it, while you're trying to massage it out, and then try it relaxed. See if you can relax the muscle. Sometimes when they're in a knot, it's kind of hard to relax the muscle, though, I know. So pectoralis. You might also, if you have tight pecs, have tight shoulders. You can roll around the delts, the shoulder here as well. So just kind of massaging around wherever you feel some tension on the shoulders. And then same thing here. I'm using my hand to just massage. That works great, but so does leaning that right against the wall and rolling around. In fact, you can do the whole arm if you want to roll a little lower down and get different parts of the arm as well with the small ball. But primarily the focus on the pecs and the delts. You might get into the lats a little bit too. So there's this little under the armpit, back and behind, find a little pressure point and lean into that. So just rolling into the lats. That could be a part of when you're working on your back, the traps, the rhomboids, the lats. Maybe you roll on up the arm to the delts, the shoulders, and then flip on over and get the pecs. So that's upper body. And then I like to take the small ball next to the glutes and just lean right into it. So you're at a 45-degree angle to the wall and just rolling around. I like to start by just rolling around in circles around the big, I call it the big back pocket muscle, the gluteus maximus. And just see what feels tense and tight. And if you find a spot that feels tense and tight, just pause, lean into it. Give it that 20 seconds or longer. This is a big muscle group. The glutes and the quads are really big muscles and they get really tight. So you might need to give it a little bit longer. But if you actually, it's 20 seconds or more and you'll feel if it's tight at that point in time, oh, the muscle just kind of stops being that tight. You can feel it loosen. So it's a great relief to give it that 20 seconds. Otherwise, just think about just kind of rolling around, massaging it out, warming it up. That would be a good warm-up for exercise, to just massage. But then the next thing to do over the glutes is to move your body right and left over the glutes. So you're just massaging side to side. And you can roll, actually, don't quite get to the tailbone back there, but roll from just the side of the spine and the tailbone over to the side hip. So you can go side to side, and then you're covering kind of glute med, glute min, glute max. You can get a lot of it in there depending on how high up you're rolling. So side to side, and I like to get the ball to move kind of from the top of the glute side to side, slowly just getting it a little lower down. You might need to reposition the ball. And so find the whole glute and just roll the whole glute side to side, and then also up and down. So think of it as like tracing the corners, tracing the edges of a pocket, a big back pocket on your jeans, and then fill it in with up and down, side to side. You can fill it in with circles too. I never like to miss the circle part because you can really hone in on some tight muscles in the center of the glute as well. So keep in mind, if you do discover a really tight spot as you're rolling the big back pocket muscle, pause right on top of it. Hold the ball right there. You can sit down right on top of that same spot. So I'm off to an angle here, sitting down, and then extend the leg out, whatever side you're on, and just see if you can relax a little bit. It's a lot of body weight, so you can push away from the earth a little bit with the hands and the foot that are planted. And you can roll up and down a little bit until you find that spot again if you happen to lose it. But it's interesting, I like trying to extend the leg and just relax the leg and the glutes. It's also interesting to cross that leg up and over. See if you find it. Whoa, see if you can find it. And then you might just be like, whoa, see what I just did? I found it. I found it again. That was the really tight spot. So you could try also the other leg crossed over. See what you prefer. So you sit right on top of it. It is a lot of body weight, but the more when you sit on top of the ball, or if you do that with your legs or your chest or any part of the body, it's really intense. So just keep in mind, you can push away from the earth a little bit, or it takes a lot of the intensity off. I'm just gonna do the other side. I figure if one side of my glute's tight, the other one probably is too. See if I can find that spot, sit on top of it, give it at least 20 seconds on that tight spot. Try a few different leg positions. So you could spend 5 minutes on your glutes if they're really tight. Having tight glutes can contribute to having tight hips as well. So loosen them up. If you have low back pain as well, loosen up your glutes too. All right, so both sides, and you can roll the side hip all the way out to the glute med, side hip here. If you find a tight spot on that glute med, might be a little bony to lie on your side body on the mat. You might just want to lean into it on the side body here. Just step a little further away from the wall and give it a little more pressure that way. You can roll down the side of the leg as well. takes a lot of repositioning. So I don't tend to work the quads that way, the legs. If you have a tight spot on your hamstrings though, sit on top of that tight spot as well. But stretching works just as well. So we can do a few stretches for glutes and for hammies as well. So back of the leg. I like to start at the bottom of the glutes, actually kind of the top of the hamstring. So you've got the sitting bones. We talk about those sitting bones. It's at the bottom of your pelvis, those little bones that stick out. Find that little spot and put the ball right below it on the leg. And then put your body weight on that. It might push a little side to side here. So roll around a little bit, up, down, side to side, until you find that tight spot again. And again, just let the body weight settle right down on top of it. So depending on how fleshy your seat is or your leg is, I've got a pretty fleshy seat and pretty fleshy leg. So I need to actually get, I'll get a smaller yoga block and give you another trick. I should have grabbed one. So you could use, if you're traveling, maybe you just grab a book or something like that, something to elevate, put the ball on top of that, and then you'll probably be able to get in there a little bit more easily. That's just if you have a lot of flesh. Of course, you don't have quite as much room to roll around on a small block, so maybe, there's benefits. Find the tight spot, whoa, sit right on top of it, relax that muscle. You can cross the other leg over it if you can tolerate it. The nice thing about releasing muscles is if you can tolerate it, it's a lot of intensity. Once you're done, the muscle's relaxed. So such a gift to be able to release the muscle to figure that out. So those are tricks for the legs, the glutes, also stretching. So what are some good stretches for those glutes? Lie on your back, bend your knees, plant your feet, and we'll do a figure four. So cross the right ankle over the left thigh and drop the right hip open. So we want to have open hip on the right. I like to flex the right foot so that my knee, it's not foolproof, but it tends to keep the knee from trying to rotate. You want the hip to do that, not the knee. And then bring the left leg in toward you. Now, if this is too intense, you can certainly back out. You can plant that left foot and just kind of push outward a little bit to keep that hip open. So from here, this might be plenty, but if you've really got a tight spot in there that you want to release, left hand holds the left leg. Tip over toward the left. So I'm bending my left elbow so the upper arm catches the earth first. And I can take a little pause midway and feel a lot deeper stretch in the glute, in the piriformis. And you can decide if you want to lower a little more. If you're tipping over to the side though, make sure that right hip is still open, or you might lose some of that intensity. And you could hold that for 20 seconds as well. That's a great stretch if you're just doing a figure four anyhow. Just try tipping over to the side a little bit. So I'll do that on the left and the right. That's a great stretch for, it's a great hip opener. I can feel it in the side as well, the hip, but also into the glutes and into the piriformis. So if I have my left ankle resting on my right leg, my right hand can support the side of the right leg. The left elbow is bent so the upper arm catches the earth. I'm pausing part way. If you want to pause and hold for a little while, you can always, I suppose if you touch your right toes down, that rotates my leg bone. So you might want to keep it elevated unless you can get it all the way down to the earth. You can experiment with that. If your thigh bone is rotating internally or externally, it'll change the sensations you feel, but more on the glute that isn't stretching. So give it that magic 20 seconds or longer. Beautiful. I would consider this actually, it's a variation on a yoga pose called pigeon. It's a reclined variation of a pigeon pose, which is a very similar stretch, but you get hip extension. So this is a great way. You could just call it a yin pose, a yin yoga pose, and hold it for 2-3 minutes. Try and relax into it. So those are some great glute stretches. Also like to, remember when we started in the very beginning, rolling the bottom of our foot. So if you just sit on your knees, sit on your lower legs and tuck your toes under, you can stretch the bottoms of the feet as well. It's a great stretch for the quads. So where we couldn't really get at the quads easily with the ball against the wall, this is a great way to get a start on those quads. You might roll around a little bit on top of the ball, or you could use the ball to massage as well. So all of those are ideas that I have for you for if you're traveling, if all you've got is a small ball, if you want it in your gym bag, your backpack, you could even keep it in your car. And then you're always ready to release some tight muscles if you need to. So thanks for joining today, friends. My name is Ellen. If you're joining on Facebook, special treat, thanks for joining today. I don't know how many more weeks this class will be live. We tend to change it up every month. Every day a different class on Facebook for you, just to sample one of 40 classes, or maybe 4 or 5 of 40 classes that we do every single week on Virtual Y. We have about 4,000 classes recorded for you. All kinds of fun special series as well. So not just foam rolling classes, of course, we've got all kinds of classes. So check out ymcanorth.org and click on Virtual Y. So for $9.99 a month, you can do all of that virtual only membership. So thanks for being with you, for being with me. It was fun to be with you. Take care. Bye-bye.
I'm Sarah, and this is Cardio Dance. Are you guys ready to work out? Let's do it.
I woke up feeling like this gon' be my day. I got that poppin' fire every step I take. Living that wild life.
Through the bag. Go. That's where we want to go.
Last 10 seconds. I'm right here with you. Let's do it. Welcome to the Y. My name is Erin. I'm Jennifer. My name is Linda.
My name is Tommy, and today we're going to do a quick step routine.
We feeling like we can conquer the world today?
I wish you all could smell it. It smells so good.
Time. We get stronger in my world. We're going to do it again.
We'll see you